everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm back with a tarot reading. Tonight we have a full moon in the sign of Libra, which is very exciting. We do have one every year, but I feel like this one in particular is spicy because the Aries season is so lit, and we're not even a third way. We're just about a third way through. We've entered the second decan of Aries. It's about to get hotter and even more inspiring, and I think that's great. But what does that mean for our relationships, right? When we are feeling really headstrong about a new idea, a new vision, a new a new thing that we want to commit to and put our energy and time and hard work towards. I say that because Saturn is really prominent here and is prominent in the spread. So I usually do readings. I usually pull the cards in real time, and I did this reading last night, but my computer wasn't able to save the video. It was kind of went on and on. So I did have a chance to reflect a little bit on these cards. So we'll see how it flows. Because there is a lot here, and we'll see what unfolds. Yeah, why don't we just get into it? Okay, so we have a very strong Aries season, and the energy that is currently around us. This is our current state right now. The Devil, and this is the Saturn card. We got this the last reading. And this Aries season is really strong because Saturn is really featuring the Saturnian energy because Saturn is in the sign of Aries. Now, Saturn is not strong in the sign of Aries because it goes opposite to Saturn's nature. Saturn is the old man, okay, and moves through things by his lived experience, right? Through maturity. And Saturn may not be in a position really to pump the brakes right now, which could be good, right? If we want to move and we want to get things going, but also could be a little detrimental in the sense that it may not be really well thought through. But I think that this card actually takes on a new context or starts to unfold a little bit when we see the energy that is crossing paths with Saturn, which is this card, which is the Empress, which is the Venus card. Now, Venus is very prominent in this full moon. It's a Venus-ruled lunation, and Venus right now is in the sign of Taurus, the other sign besides Libra that rules the planet. So we have a very strong Venus right now, and it makes me think about these two together, kind of about excess, the excesses, right? The Devil can represent excess, even though we think of Saturn as, limiting and putting boundaries and bounding things up. This card also is also about access. Like our habits are kind of our addictions, right? I mean, we think maybe that in a Piscean way and Neptune and such, but really it's also something that also is evoked through Saturn, right? And I think, just hear me out here, it suggests gluttony. When we think of excess, we think about gluttony, and Saturn is a planet that is equated with sadness and depression. And when we do bring access into our life, if it's through drugs or alcohol, sex or food or things like that, it's actually an expression of wanting to unalive ourselves. Okay, so hear me out here. Hear me out here. What are we without the openness, right? Without the openness and the need for relation, because I feel like when we do get into the state of excess, we're actually not in right relations with ourselves, and therefore it's also a sign that we're not in right relations with each other, right? And yes, so why don't we move through this, right? Venus, I think, is really asking us to remember, to have us remember the love that we have for each other, the love that we have for our really dear friend that we want nothing but the best for, our partner who we adore, a child that brings us so much joy. There's so much love. There's a wellspring and an abundance of love that we have for others, and that is also something that we have. We have the love of others. We have the love. Do we have the love for ourselves, right? But I think that when we get into a place of excess through substance and maybe feeling a lack in relationship, we actually may be closing ourselves off to the abundance of love that's always available and we always have access to. And at the very least, the love that we can also harness and cultivate for ourselves, which I think is really important when we think about the Libra Aries axis here. It is the tension between the I, Aries, I am, and the Libra energy of we, to harmonize, to always be thinking about the other, right? So how are we balancing that out? And I think that this is a strong tension here because, there's a strong individuating energy in Aries right now where we could be really feeling headstrong. Or we're going to need to balance ourselves out, right? That's what the scales are. Of all the signs, I think it's the only inanimate object out of all the astrological signs. It's a scale, right? It's just very interesting, right? So we're balancing things out here. What is on top of our mind is the Ten of Wands, which is actually a Saturn card. Saturn in Sagittarius, Saturn. This is the hard work, the grueling hard work that it takes to balance out the I and the we. I mean, it does. It can take a lot of work. And certainly our new endeavors that are coming forward right now may feel daunting because it is a lot of work and it's a lot of work ahead. So the thing is that we do have resilience here. This is also through experience, through maturity, through somehow a completion of something, perhaps this Saturn cycle that just completed, as it's been restarted with the meeting with the sun a week plus ago, right? There's a new Saturn cycle, there's a new belief system, there's a new authority that wants to come through for us, and it may very well be an inner authority that we've been lacking. And so maybe this is like the lesson that we have been learning, right? And so there's a resilience actually and an abundance here because, you're still showing up, and maybe we are still showing up for ourselves, right? Sorry, just dropped my my lingam. Anyway, okay, so right, so we have this interesting sequence, right? And maybe there is a moving backwards to moving forward, one step forward, two steps back. But maybe we really do, we have our eye on the prize and we're ready for it, right? So being, really cultivating the inner authority is important. But we also have here the resources as far as relationship, and really, if we really think about attaining or getting to a place that we're oriented towards, or a goal, right? Usually, it's through the relationship and through the resources of others. I think that we should be careful right now. The blade is really sharp for sure, because of Aries season. And especially as we were moving just out of the first decan of Aries. It's a very sharp blade. It's really cutting the umbilical cord of attachment and also of individuation. So this is interesting that this is positioned as the future. And again, like I said, there's a new Saturn cycle. So this could be maybe, we are cutting away from old stories, old beliefs, right? There's a new authority, new relationships, new circles of people and groups of friends and things like that. There could have been a really sharp cutting away, and we could be feeling grief or a sense of liberation, a sense of integrating parts of ourselves that weren't allowed to be around certain people. Or in certain environments, right? So I think that this is a great card that's coming forward. I also think that when I was thinking about this with the devil too, right? That the other is really a reflection of ourselves, right? And that the love that we have, or we can just sense the love that we have for others, somehow we're all also exercising the ability to receive love and to acknowledge love and to cultivate the self-love, that the projections, so really this is the integrated shadow. Everything is exposed in the sun. There's no shadows here. And when we think about projection and projecting onto others our shadow, there's also another side to this, because we could also project on others something that we are, right? That what we love in others is also what we love in ourselves, that we may have not allowed ourselves to love or recognize in ourselves. So this is possibly that, right? Having somehow the space opening up as this new reality is coming into the picture with Saturn and with Neptune, that what we were sensing and feeling, now we are seeing and knowing. And that is really very Saturnian, right? It can be sobering, but also, wow, I can actually see something materializing or really believing and having hope. And I think that it's a powerful time to maybe put some doubt aside for right now, right? And with Saturn not pumping the brakes, wow, the sky's the limit, right? So but it's undeniable with something that's coming forward to birth and to become new, like the new child, right? The new child, or the self that has always been, that is somehow finally birthing and being shown and being seen. There is something that is also falling apart, right? And so Saturn was just in a sextile to Pluto a few days ago, this past weekend. And this is really about the restructuring, right? We're restructuring our reality. We're restructuring the things where we can have the stable foundations. And so this is very Martian. So when we have the new moon in mid-month, around the 19th, I think it is, or 17th, 2 days later, Mars is going to be conjunct Saturn. And is that right? Yeah, and the sun's there. Well, the sun is going to be a bit more moved forward, but this is hot. This is destruction. But we can think about destruction for the sake of creation. There's certainly things that are happening on the global stage, but we don't have to follow the sort of that use of Martian energy, right? We can use Martian energy to be really deliberate and use more like a surgeon's knife, right? To really extract the things that we want to remove, right? To remove from the structures, to remove from our way of being, a way of operating, the way that we are informing our actions, right? If it's a new authority, it's like, okay, well, wow, there's a new paradigm that's developing within us as well. As this hopeful energy also outside the collective that we see and feel, right? And this is also the outer. This card is positioned to what others are feeling and thinking and where they're at. And So this represents the first decan of Aries, and again, I was talking about the axe. That's really an image, the cutting away, right? Of the umbilical cord, just like you're ready, you're ready, you're ready for the new thing and the next thing, and this is a new beginning, right? This is the Pisces season just ended, right? So the nebulous kind of oneness and the enmeshment is really lifting here. Neptune is still in this decan, and how can we use it, right? This astrologer was talking about there's not a lot of water right now, right? Mercury is in the sign of Pisces and is sextiling Jupiter. This is actually, these are all very lunar cards. I want to say this. This is really strong. The lunar energy is really strong, right? So we're feeling all these very instinctual, driven, very, masculine oriented energies, right? Of fire, and there's going to be a lot more air that's coming through. The moon's really important, right? And Jupiter is really mediating this full moon, the sun and the moon right now. And, Jupiter offers protection, but I feel like it's really offering us also, because Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer, of the moon in Cancer, this sense of our lived experiences, right? So the sense of our lived experiences, the sense that things may not make sense in the logical, but that we should be cultivating a sense of our intuition and knowing, right? It's not so much, this is really seductive right now. The sun is really seductive right now, right? And it is about purpose, but I think that more so than anything, it's about understanding, and I'm sure you've probably heard more astrologers saying this, what's really important is alignment, do you know when something feels aligned? Do you know what alignment feels like, right? And it's not so much about purpose, but tapping into, or really cultivating the inner space, the inner world, the inner knowing, the intuition when we know that something is off. And really, actually, it comes back to Venus, because it's also how we're renegotiating our beliefs, what we know and believe that is true, what we want to cultivate more in our life, right? More of, if we want to use kind of like this language of more of the Christ energy, right? Of love, of light, of connection. It's interesting because there could be a time right now that we might feel in crisis, right? We are feeling in crisis, right? And we know we want to move ahead and forge ahead into this new territory and this new sort of horizon that is before us, right? But the moon is urging us to also really still be in tune with our feelings. Mercury is in a trine right now to Jupiter, who's mediating this full moon. Again, take some quiet space. I said this the last I think reading. Really cultivate the quiet time and space to look within yourself, and to also be aware of the influences that are around you right now. And the moon, we could feel a little crazy right now because of our sense of reality that is crumbling, right? And so what I wanted to say, and what is leading into this Cups card, the Five of Cups. I don't think this is a Saturn card again, but it might be. Gosh. The Five of Cups. So what was coming up for me as I was moving through the ending of Pisces season, I was feeling a lot of pent up emotion and grief, and just grief, such tremendous grief. And I came upon this passage. It was actually about, I don't know if anybody, well, I'm sure people know about the Enneagram. This was the Enneagram types, and it was in the lens of Christian Mysticism. And all the types, the personality types, actually are equated to a deadly sin. And then also like the redemption of it, right? Like what the gift is in the shadow of it. And for this one, it was envy. And the grief. We need to allow ourselves to move through the grief if we want to be liberated by it. So if we don't actually go through, this is kind of the concept of bypassing, right? Like we want the new future, we want the future, we want all this, we want love, we want the future, we want all this good stuff. That's great. It is true. It's true. But we also have to get through the grief. So just be aware that this is also should be built into your process, right? And we could be getting insights because of Mercury and Jupiter. And basically the culminating card here is the Queen of Pentacles. So this is a really beautiful image because to me, this looks almost like the iconography of the mother and child, except she's holding a pentacle, right? And, okay, so I think this is how I'm going to wrap up the lunar energy and the moon energy here, and the emotions and the really strong, wrought emotions that are coming to surface. Allow them to. This is about security, feeling safe, right? And the more that we're able to hold ourselves in these really tumultuous emotions that are surfacing, is that much sooner that we can get to the alchemical gold, because the alchemical marriage is the moon and the sun. So I think that maybe this is a precursor, right, of Taurus Gemini season coming up, of the marriage that wants to happen here, right? So I think the marriage between self and other is really important here. So I think that just the air of caution to the people around you, because you're not going to be able to do it alone. There's always a need for people and resources and that support. So we don't get stuck into substance and the negative side of materialism, right? We don't want to do that. What's the point? What's the whole point of all of this, right? This is the cultivating. Look at this wise woman who has cultivated so much, who is also really honoring and protecting and holding, holding. I don't know, creating this beautiful, abundant space. And this is humility. This is also being in right relations with self and being right relations with others. I just think this is a beautiful image, right? So it's the child, the creation that we are creating right now. And this did come up on the last reading, to really maybe hold this close to your chest right now, right? And this is also the Jupiterian moon energy. You know, there's something maybe really precious that's coming to surface because it's authentic. And I will say that the Aries energy has a need for authenticity, to bring forward the real self. And so I think that when we're balancing out self and others, go towards expressing the real and the authentic and see where you land with that. And whatever falls away, it's no longer aligned with you. So I hope that helps. And it made some good sense. I did pull a card from the Shaman Dream Oracle deck. It's a beautiful deck that a friend gave me. And what I pulled up is in the hand. The universe is your partner, which I think is so cool because it's kind of like the Aries and Libra energy together. So in the hand, the universe is your partner. It's about the higher self. The higher self is within you. It's not outside you. And the inner authority is there. The authority there for you to live your life in integrity and in the way that feels aligned. But also, it's a partnership, right? So being able, I think we don't have to push as much as we think, right? It's about allowing right now. It's about allowing the authentic self to come through, and being in right relations with the universe, with the unified field, with that consciousness, that universal consciousness. There's a new myth that wants to be formed. So we need to stay humble. Actually, we need to stay humble enough and quiet enough and slow enough to really develop and nurture something enduring, stable, and just nurturing in itself, right? Nurturing for others, nurturing for self, and that takes time. So that's what I got. I think that this is going to be a really spicy, really hot, fiery new moon coming. And so I'd say right now also, tend to your body, tend to self. Like I said, the Jupiter in Cancer is really strong here. It's sort of more so in the background, and it's subtle, but this moon cycle started with Pisces new moon, so it's still very prominent. I think that the zodiacal year really kicks off in a really big way and catapults us in the next new moon in Aries. So until then, I hope you're moving through the energies with much love and ease and much grace. This is what this card is. You have much grace with you, and see you next time.